Was this story broke during the show, and these are the types of politicians I worry about the most. So it turns out that Lindsey Graham, Republican senator, of course, is railing against how the media has been covering the horrific attacks that took place on New Year's Day. One took place, of course, in Louisiana on Bourbon Street, where a guy named Shamsud Din Jabbar ran over a bunch of people with his truck on Bourbon Street, killing 14. And then there was that cyber truck that blew up in front of Trump Tower in Las Vegas. Only the person in the cyber truck died as a result of that, though, luckily. Now, Lindsey Graham is apparently blasting the media for treating the deadly terror attack in New Orleans as a crime and not part of a larger war on terrorism. Because he wants any excuse to go to war. Any excuse, okay? He sees this as an opportunity to propagandize people, to scare people. Graham said there was an important distinction between simple violent crime and the deadly New Year's Day truck ramming in New Orleans. Police said 42-year-old, and this is, by the way, reported by Mediaite, so I want to give them credit because I'm reading from their report. Police said 42-year-old Shamsud Din Jabbar killed 14 people, blah, blah, blah. We know about that. The suspect, who was killed in a shootout with police, was also carrying an ISIS flag and an AR-15 style rifle. In a Thursday post on his formerly Twitter account, Graham ripped the media for its coverage of Jabbar's alleged actions. Quote, "As I watch coverage of this barbaric, cowardly attack that was ISIS inspired, it is disturbing how far America has drifted from the fact that we are in a state of war with radical Islamic forces." Are we? Is that what we're in right now? The coverage suggests we're fighting a crime and that ISIS-inspired attacks are mere criminal events, not part of a larger war on terrorism. The difference between fighting a war and a crime is substantial. Like, look, there's no evidence right now indicating that he was working alongside ISIS or working with other ISIS members to carry out some sort of war against Americans. Okay, this was a super troubled guy, American citizen, army vet, had financial issues, 2 obviously like bad divorces. I don't know exactly what was on this guy's mind when he carried out this attack, but to take this tragedy, to take the horrific attack and try to blow it up into something bigger just so we can encourage our troops to engage in more war abroad is insane to me. It really is. And this is his legacy. This is what Lindsey Graham is all about. And the only time he's ever disagreed with Donald Trump, the only time he's ever spoken out against his daddy is when Trump doesn't want to go to war and he does. Lindsey Graham is disgusting. He disgusts me. People like him should not be serving in any governmental role, certainly not as a US senator.
It's basically, he's the mouthpiece for the war machine. That's what folks need to understand. Whenever this guy opens his mouth, he is speaking on behalf of the military-industrial complex. And if Lindsey Graham could have it, it's not 1 trillion annually isn't enough. We'd be doing 3 trillion. We'd be doing 4 trillion. We'd be at war. We'd be in China. We'd be in Taiwan fighting China right now. We'd be in Iran fighting right now. By the way, simultaneously, and probably getting our asses kicked, mind you. We'd be in North Korea. We'd be in Venezuela. We'd be everywhere if Lindsey Graham could have his way. But I feel heartened by the fact that Americans understand that it's not 2004 anymore. And you can't just whip up fear and scare the hell out of people by just mentioning terrorism, ISIS. But like, prove it, bro. Prove that this guy was in contact with, I don't know, the Houthis or something. Whoever. By the way, like, who are we even calling terrorists anymore? It's like, it's a word that doesn't even have a meaning. Our last presidential election, which is a pretty good bellwether for the quote unquote issues that Americans care about, or at least that the parties care about, neither candidate from the major parties talked about terrorism. It's not a thing. I'm sorry, Lindsey Graham. People recognize that a lunatic did a horrible act, and it's horrible. And these families, these victims, like what? Like, are their lives made somehow better Will they be soothed from having lost their loved ones because Lindsey Graham wants us to acknowledge that ISIS or something had something to do with, like, what is he talking about? Who is this actually for? Who does this rhetoric actually benefit? What is America not doing abroad enough? In terms of terrorism prevention, like this guy literally just drove a rental car into a crowd.
Yeah,
like
checking Israel would be one.
And again,
the U.S. refusing to check Israel's
that
terroristic
would never
acts
be on the table for Lindsey Graham. We know that.
Yeah.
But again, and I'm old enough to remember when terrorism was 9/11. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry, I hate to be this crass. This isn't up to the level, guys. It's not. It's just not going to scare people. That was a coordinated attack by some foreign actors with the express written goal of hitting the freaking American empire. Like, people don't like to mention this, but the CIA was in the damn Twin Towers. Like, that's part of why they targeted the Twin Towers. Okay, like they targeted the Pentagon. They were targeting the damn American war machine, right? This was not that. This guy got in the car and did something horrible.
Yeah. Changing topics entirely. Made in anyway. One of our viewers writes in, I'm sorry, I can't read. So the painting is called Portrait of Janine Hebuturnet, and Amedeo Moglidiani is the painter.
Italy.
Of course.
Y'all know I'm Italian since I was in Rome back in September. Yeah, my new name is Cugino Wasnio. That's my new name, y'all.
I love it. So good.
Kate is my paisan. She gets it.
She does. All right. By the way, just going back to our Carville conversation, Kate is very young and very brilliant. Okay.
Kate is the GOAT. She's the best.
She is. So when she has a suggestion, I listen because it's always a good one. So Carville should learn lessons from that and not just assume that young people are just inevitably saying things that are nonsense. But I really do think that our viewer who says he's probably talking about Gaza was right.
Imagine so.
Yeah. Oh God, the Democratic Party hates those pro-Palestinian protesters.
Yeah.
Hates them.